The Zephyrian war cruiser hovered in space like a dark beast above the human colony called Haven's Rest. Purple flames glowed from its engines, lighting up the blackness around it. Inside the command bridge, High Commander Veltar watched the human settlement on the main screen. His cold eyes did not blink. "Shield strength of the colony?" he asked. "Down to 60%, Commander," his weapons officer replied. "They will surrender at 40%, standard protocol." Veltar nodded slowly. "Good. Prepare for surrender." This was the way war worked in the galaxy. It had rules. You used energy weapons. You stayed at a distance. When shields dropped low, you gave up. That was how civilized species fought. No mess, no chaos. The Zephyrians had won 47 planets using these rules. This one would be number 48. "They are sending a distress signal," said the analyst Kixara. She had green scales, smaller than the rest of the crew. Veltar laughed, a sound like metal grinding on metal. "To who? Their neighbors? Their gods?" Kixara did not laugh. "To deep space," she said. "A general call for help." "We have studied them," Veltar said. "Primitive. Still use rockets. Still use bullets." He spat the word like it tasted bad. Kixara looked down at her screen again. She had been reading human history for hours. Something didn't feel right. Her fingers tapped quickly across the display. "Commander," she started. "I think—" "Speak," Veltar ordered. "Something is different about them. Other species stopped fighting after a few wars, but humans never stopped. Not for 10,000 years. Their weapons, their training, everything has been tested in real war. All the time." Veltar waved her off. "Old wars, old weapons. Our battle computers already calculated. Victory chance is 98%. Kixara tried again. "But Commander, what if they don't follow the rules?" Before he could answer, the bridge lights turned red. A warning. Long-range sensors detect incoming vessel, the communications officer shouted. "Single ship, very fast, unknown class." Veltar turned his head slowly. "What kind of ship?" "Much larger than any recorded human vessel. Much faster." Kixara's screen blinked. "They are sending a message. Play it," Veltar said. The bridge went quiet. Then a human voice came through the speakers, calm, cold, sure of itself. "This is Admiral Marcus Kane of the USS Vengeance. You have attacked human civilians. Prepare for consequences. No request for peace. No offer to surrender. No fear. Just cold words." Veltar stared at the speaker. "Send reply. We are open to discussion." No response, Commander. They have cut communication. On the tactical screen, a red dot approached. Fast, way too fast. "All ships, prepare for engagement," Veltar ordered. "Standard formation." He looked calm, confident. But Kixara was pale. Her scales twitched. "Commander," she whispered, "this may be a mistake." "What mistake?" "We assumed humans fight like us, but they don't. They've never had peace. They learn from pain. They adapt through war. And their kinetic weapons—" "Enough!" Veltar snapped. Then the human ship arrived. It came out of hyperspace like a falling mountain. It was massive, almost 3 times the size of a Zephyrian cruiser. Its hull was thick and dark. No energy ports, no glowing weapons, just metal. "Armor. All ships," Veltar ordered. "Target the human vessel. Fire on my command." The Vengeance didn't dodge, didn't slow. It just flew forward, like a knife cutting through space. "They are approaching point-blank range," the weapons officer said, "not following any known protocols." "They are fools," Veltar said. "Fire!" 12 cruisers shot their purple energy beams at once. The sky lit up, but nothing happened. The beams hit the human ship and vanished. No explosion, no shield, flash. Just metal, absorbing it. Veltar stood frozen. "How is that possible?" "I don't think those are energy shields," said the weapons officer. "I think it's armor. Physical armor." "Primitive," Veltar shouted, but the data didn't lie. And then the human ship stopped, 50,000 kilometers away. Still too close, too dangerous, and along its surface ports began to open, not glowing with energy, not humming with power, just opening. "What are they doing?" Veltar asked. No one answered. Kixara watched in silence. The Zepyrians had always been sure of their strength, sure of their methods. But now, they were facing something different, something ancient, something angry. The humans were not following the rules, and in that moment, Kixara knew. This was not a battle. This was a mistake. The bridge of the USS Vengeance was quiet. No one moved. No one needed to. Every officer knew their job. Every system was already running. Admiral Marcus Kane stood in front of the main display. His hands were behind his back, his eyes locked on the enemy fleet ahead, 12 Zepyrian warcruisers, still holding formation. They were waiting, watching, hoping their first attack had done something, but it hadn't. Commander Lisa Brooks, his tactical officer, checked her screens. "Armor integrity, 99.7%, she reported. "No real damage." Kane nodded. "Good." The Zepyrians had no idea what they were dealing with. Their energy weapons were useless against layered tungsten carbide, plating. Their calculations were based on old wars, old assumptions. But humans had stopped playing by those rules a long time ago. "Enemy ships recharging weapons," Brooks said. "They think we'll play their game," Kane said quietly. "Let's teach them ours." On his signal, the weapon bays on the Vengeance fully opened. Giant cannons slid into place, missile tubes aligned, railguns charged with a deep electric hum. "Target primary cruiser, center of formation," Kane ordered. Brooks tapped her controls. "Locked. Fire." The ship shook slightly as the first kinetic rounds launched. They were massive rods of dense metal, fired at incredible speed. There was no glow, no flash, just raw force, unstoppable. The Zepyrian center cruiser didn't even have time to react. The first slug hit dead center, ripping through its shields like paper. The second tore through its core. The third exploded inside the ship's engine, breaking it apart from within. On the Vengeance's screen, the cruiser broke into 2 pieces and then shattered in a bright ball of flame. The explosion rocked the other 11 ships. "Direct hit," Brooks said calmly. "1 confirmed kill." "Reload," Kane said. "Next target." On the Zepyrian bridge, everything was falling apart. Commander Veltar stared at the burning wreckage of his lead ship. His face was frozen, his mind trying to make sense of it. "What? What was that?" he shouted. "Kinetic impact, Commander," Kixara answered, fear clear in her voice. "No energy signature, no warning. Just speed and mass. But we had shields. They went straight through." Veltar's voice cracked. "How is that possible?" Kixara looked up from her shaking hands. "They use raw physics. No energy beams, no fancy tech. Just destruction." Another alarm screamed. "Another round incoming," shouted the weapons officer. Veltar barely had time to shout orders before the next Zepyrian ship was hit. This one tried to dodge, but it was too slow. The kinetic projectile hit the front end, smashing through the command section. A second slug followed and ripped through the engines. Another fireball lit up space. 2 cruisers down, 10 left. "They're not ships," someone whispered. "They're monsters." Back on the Vengeance, Kane gave no smile, no cheer. He looked at the enemy fleet, as if studying insects under glass. "These aliens," he said softly, "they studied our rockets, our bullets, our tanks, and they thought it meant weakness." He looked at Brooks. "They didn't understand." Brooks nodded. "That everything we build is made to kill." Kane turned to the communications officer. "Open channel." A second later, his voice was broadcast across the Zepyrian fleet. "This is Admiral Marcus Kane. You are not fighting a government. You are not fighting a military. You are fighting a species that was born in war. You have 1 chance to surrender." Silence. Then, a reply. Commander Veltar's voice, shaken, but still proud. "You are primitive. You use old weapons. This is not how wars are fought. You break all rules of battle." Kane responded immediately. "There are no rules when you attack civilians. No rules when you try to enslave Earth. You wanted to see human warfare. Now you have." He cut the channel. "Next target," he said. More slugs launched. The Zephyrian fleet tried to scatter now. Too late. Another cruiser exploded, its rear ripped apart. One managed to survive the impact, but its side was torn open. Fires burned inside. They're panicking, Brooks said. Formation broken. Good, Kane said. Now we hunt. On the Zephyrian bridge, Veltar could barely think. The rules were gone. The math was broken. These humans didn't act like any species he had fought. They didn't wait. They didn't ask. They just struck, hard and fast. Kixara spoke again, but her voice was hollow. Commander, we made a mistake. Veltar turned to her, his voice just a whisper now. How do we fight them? Kixara stared at the human ship on the screen. More weapons were loading. More death was coming. I don't know, she said, and neither did anyone else. Smoke rose from the broken Zephyrian ships. 3 cruisers had already been destroyed. 2 more were badly damaged. The rest were running, scattered like insects under fire. Admiral Marcus Kane stood still on the bridge of the USS Vengeance. His face was calm, but his voice cut like a blade. Track the damaged ones, he said. No survivors. His officers didn't question the order. They had seen the colony. They had seen what the Zephyrians did. Civilians, children, burned alive. There would be no mercy. Target acquired, Commander Brooks said. Cruiser 7 attempting to jump. Engines at 60%. Take them out before they jump, Kane ordered. The railguns fired again. One of the slugs slammed into the fleeing cruiser's side. It hit the engine room, cracked it open, and exposed the core. A second hit followed. The ship exploded, sending burning metal into space. The crew on the Vengeance didn't cheer. They just moved on to the next target. On Cruiser 9, Commander Traylon screamed into his console. Get us out of here! Jump now! We can't, his engineer shouted. The jump core is charging too slowly. We need 3 more minutes. We don't have 3 minutes. Another explosion echoed across their sensors. Cruiser 10, gone. Traylon turned to his second officer. What are they made of? What kind of species fights like this? The officer looked pale. They don't calculate. They don't negotiate. They destroy. Traylon stared at the human ship on the screen. It didn't glow with energy. It didn't shimmer with light. It was dark and silent, like death itself. We have to warn the High Command, he whispered. They don't know what these humans really are. He didn't know if the message would ever be received. But he sent it. Anyway, back on the Vengeance, Admiral Kane watched Cruiser 9 begin to turn away. The ship was trying to jump. Engines locked, said Brooks. They're trying to flee. Kane gave the nod. Fire. 2 railgun slugs tore through the rear of the cruiser. Flames burst from its engine vents. The ship twisted, burning, and then vanished in a blinding flash. Brooks looked at her screen. Only 5 enemy ships remain. Kane said nothing. His mind was already far ahead. These aliens thought humans were weak. That war was something you could plan like a game. But they didn't understand humanity. They didn't know humans grew up in war, learned pain, mastered death. They didn't fight by the rules. They fought to win, or to survive. And now, they were the ones surviving. On the remaining Zephyrian cruisers, fear was everywhere. Commander, a Zephyrian pilot cried, we have no counter to their weapons. Our shields are useless. Send a full retreat command. Commander Veltar gripped the edge of his command console. He was shaking. This can't be happening. But it was. Kixara stood beside him. Her face was pale, her voice quiet but certain. They don't just fight. They finish. Veltar turned to her. What do we do? She answered with something he never thought he would say to any species. We surrender. Kane received the message 5 minutes later. Sir, Brooks said, her voice uncertain. One of the enemy ships is signaling surrender. Standard galactic code. Kane stared at the screen. The damaged Zephyrian ship hovered in place. Its weapons were offline. Its shields dropped. He considered the message carefully, then turned to his crew. What do you think? He asked. Do we accept it? Silence. Then a voice from the back. One of the junior engineers. Did they show mercy to Haven's Rest? No, sir, another said. They burned it, with families inside. Kane nodded. then they don't get mercy. The Vengeance fired again. The surrendering ship exploded into bright light, then nothing. Brooks didn't flinch. 4 left. Kane gave the next order. Pursue. Eliminate all targets. No survivors. His voice was cold, final. For too long, the galaxy laughed at Earth. Called them backwards, primitive, weak. Now they were learning. Not from speeches, not from peace treaties, but from steel, fire, and blood. The last 4 Zepyrian cruisers began, running in different directions, trying to escape. But they couldn't outrun the Vengeance. As the human ship moved through space like a predator, Kixara's message finally reached the Zepyrian High Command. By then, it was already too late. The message was simple. We made a mistake. Humans do not fight for control, they fight for survival. And when they do not stop. High above the Zepyrian capital world, a room full of commanders stared in silence. They had just received the full recording from Commander Veltar's fleet. A black screen filled with human firepower, railguns that tore through shields. A voice from the Vengeance that gave no warning, only a sentence. You attacked our people, prepare for consequences. Grand Strategist Orav, the highest-ranking military leader of the Zepyrian Empire, closed the report file and looked around the table. No one speaks of this, he said coldly. Not to the public, not to the Senate, not even to family. But, strategist, one officer whispered. They destroyed 12 cruisers in under 20 minutes. They didn't just destroy them, said another. They hunted them, like predators. A third voice cut in, shaky and full of fear. What kind of species uses kinetic weapons in the age of energy warfare? No one answered. Because deep down, they already knew. Across the galaxy, whispers began to spread. A lone human ship had destroyed an entire fleet. Some called it impossible. Others called it war. But on a quiet mining moon called Elros 9, the whispers became something else entirely. Man named Terran was working deep underground when the news reached his outpost. He didn't say much, just dropped his tool and walked to the old comm station. It hadn't been used in years. Elros 9 was a dead place, long forgotten by Earth. No one even remembered why it was settled, or why it was abandoned. But Terran did, because Terran wasn't just a miner, he was a watcher. And the moment he heard about the USS Vengeance, he knew. They woke it up, he said quietly. The signal finally reached us. Another worker, confused, asked, "What do you mean?" Terran stared into the comms console. Earth is remembering what it was, what we were trained for, what they hid. Then he reached under the console and opened a hidden panel. Behind it was an ancient keycard. It was black, made of some metal not used in over 100 years. No symbols, no lights, just one word on the back, Solguard. He inserted it. The console hummed to life. A deep voice echoed through the station's speakers. Clearance accepted. Awakening Protocol 10. Stand by for vault access. Meanwhile, Admiral Kane stood in the quiet bridge of the Vengeance, orbiting above the ruins of Haven's Rest. The colony was gone. Smoke still rose from the surface. He could see the burning wreckage even from space. His crew was silent. No cheers, no smiles, only rage, and a heavy question. What next? Commander Brooks approached slowly. "Sir, we've picked up multiple signals." Kane turned to her. "Survivors?" "No," she said. "Transmissions, all across the galactic net. News. Of the battle. Our battle." Kane nodded. "Let them talk." Brooks hesitated. "Sir, one of the signals isn't a news broadcast. It's a return transmission, an old one, from deep in human space." Kane's eyes narrowed. "From where?" She handed him the datapad. "Origin. Black Zone. Solguard Archives. Status. Classified Alpha Message. Vengeance has engaged. Protocol. 10 confirmed. Vault awakening in progress. Proceed to Site 0. Kane fro. He had heard those words before. But Site 0. We back on Elros 9. The deep Binata Machina mind. Locked away for 2 built during Earth's darkest war. Before the treaties. Before the peace lies. Before they gave up the old ways. It was Nev, Unless humanity was on the edge once more. Inside to Solg, STST status. Objective: protect Earth, destroy threats. The metal do, and the last Livy, massive machine. Twice the size of the USS Vengeance. Can one name, unbreakable in the Zepyrian capital, strategist 1U energy signature stra, and one, we are not your enemy, unless you want us to be. You do we built, we Earth remembers. Deep inside the asteroid belt of the Sol system, behind a wall of old satellites and forgotten defense drones, a giant station slowly opened its eyes. It was not on any map. Not even Earth's current government knew it existed. But long ago, before Earth joined the Council of Civilized Worlds, they built it. They called it Site Zero, a vault hidden in the heart of the solar system. The vault held no gold, no treasure, no science archives. It held war. Admiral Kane stood at the edge of the Vengeance's main screen, staring at the dark space ahead. The coordinates had led them through strange zones, full of old warnings and do not enter signs. No patrol ships, no stations, only silence. Until now. In front of them, a massive black station came into view, shaped like a spike, covered in ancient metal plates. It gave no signal, no lights. But Kane knew. This is it, he said softly. This is where they kept the truth. Commander Brooks looked uneasy. Sir, the structure is waking up. I'm picking up power readings and movement inside. Kane gave a slow nod. Open a channel. A few seconds passed. The screen remained dark. Then, a voice answered. It was deep, metallic, and cold. Admiral Kane, Captain of the USS Vengeance. Verified. Solguard protocol active. You have been expected. Kane's eyes narrowed. Who am I speaking to? You speak to the core intelligence of Site Zero, the Vault of Earth. I hold the secrets of every war Earth has hidden. And every weapon it still remembers, Brooks whispered. How could this place know him? It was built before he was born. The voice continued. Humanity sleeps, but the code never forgets. You, Kane, are the first to fulfill Protocol 10. That means Earth is under threat again. Kane kept his voice calm. The Zepyrians destroyed one of our colonies. They sent no warning, no trial, just fire and death. Then they have awakened something they will never understand, the voice said. Kane took a step closer. What does that mean? You think the Vengeance is Earth's most powerful ship. You are wrong. You are just the first spark. Behind these doors are fleets Earth never told anyone about. Ships built from human rage, designed for one purpose only, total defense through overwhelming force. Brooks stared at Kane. Sir, are we really going to open the vault? Kane didn't blink. We came this far. Let it open. The giant metal doors slowly unlocked. A deep hum filled the bridge. One by one, massive ships began to rise from the vault. They looked different from modern ships. They were not smooth. They were not shiny. They looked like weapons made of old anger. No energy weapons, just missiles, kinetic cannons, plasma torpedoes, and armor so thick it looked like mountains. Floating in space, each ship had a name, written in human languages long forgotten. Endbringer, Iron Truth, Widow of Stars, Final Mercy. And at the very center of the vault was a giant black vessel, larger than a city. Its engines glowed with red fire. Its main cannon could crack moons. Kane whispered its name as it came into view. The Leviathan. In the Zepyrian war room, alarms were screaming. Unknown signals detected near Earth's system. Ship classes. Unrecognized. No. Wait. These aren't new ships. They're ancient? No. Pre-digital? Strategist Orav stared at the screen. That's impossible. No one builds ships like that anymore. That's barbaric. Another officer shouted. One of the ships just aimed its weapons. The targeting systems. They're not using computers. They're manual. No way to hack, no way to jam. Orav stepped back in horror. We didn't attack a primitive species. We attacked the only species that remembers what real war is. The core intelligence of Site Zero spoke again. Kane, take what you need. The vault is yours now. But, understand this. Once the Leviathan moves, there is no going back. The galaxy will know what Earth truly is. A sleeping beast, a forgotten monster. Kane clenched his fists. Then let them know. We will not hide anymore. We are done begging for peace. Brooks gave a sharp nod. Orders, sir? Kane turned toward her. Bring the fleet online. Wake every ship. Set course for Zepyrian. Space. She hesitated. Are we starting a war? Kane's eyes burned with fury. No. We're finishing one. Far from Earth, other empires watched. The Kar Dominion, the Oxar traders, the Cillian Combine, each had once mocked Earth for being backward, weak, peaceful, but now they were silent because they all saw what rose from the dark, a fleet from humanity's past, and a message carved into the side of the Leviathan's hull. We forgive nothing. The stars looked calm above Zepyrian space. Their war fleet sat in standard formation, 12 cruisers, 6 frigates, and 1 command ship, all armed with the best energy weapons in the galaxy. But something was wrong, very wrong. The enemy wasn't following the rules. High Commander Veltar watched the display with growing fear. For 3 hours they had tracked human ships moving from the edge of the system. Not one followed protocol. Not one slowed to negotiate. Not one sent a surrender offer. Instead, they just came forward, faster, closer, colder. These humans, he muttered. They do not act like any civilized force. Beside him, Kixara's voice was low. Because they are not pretending, he turned to her. Pretending? She nodded. We all pretend. We act like war is math, like peace is progress, but they never forgot what war really is. They never stopped living it. Every generation, every war, real weapons, real death. Suddenly, the tactical screen flashed red. Enemy contact, shouted the weapons officer. Multiple human ships entering our sector, massive hull signatures. I count 14. No, 20. Another voice cut in. They're not slowing down. They're coming straight at us. Kixara looked pale. They are not attacking for land or power. They are coming for memory. Admiral Kane stood on the command bridge of the Leviathan, his face calm. But inside, fire burned. Every breath was heavy with the weight of those who had died. Civilians on Haven's Rest. Scientists, children, families, all lost, but not forgotten. He looked out the main screen. Weapons? Armed and ready, said Brooks. Targets? Every Zepyrian cruiser in this sector, all marked. Kane nodded. Begin assault pattern Gamma. Let's show them what they started. The dark fleet of old Earth moved, not fast like modern ships, but steady, like a storm. The Zepyrian warships opened fire first. Bright purple energy beams streaked across the black. They hit the Leviathan's armor and vanished. No shields, no dispersal. The metal absorbed it all. Brooks looked at her display. Damage? None, the tech officer answered. Not even a scratch. Kane raised his hand. Return. Fire. The Leviathan's main cannon lit up like a sun. A single kinetic slug, carried by ancient mass driver coils, launched across space. It struck a Zepyrian cruiser midsection. The entire ship bent, then shattered. There was no explosion, just metal, torn apart by force alone. Other human warships opened fire. Missiles, railguns, torpedoes, nothing digital, nothing soft, just old power. Zepyrian shields began to fail. One by one. They had never built defenses against this kind of violence. Because they thought it was gone. Because they thought humans were just another species that moved past it. Inside the Zepyrian command ship, Veltar watched as one of his cruisers disappeared from the map. What was that? He asked. The officer's voice shook. They're weapons. They're physical. Nothing to hack. Nothing to predict. We can't stop them. Kixara stepped forward. You should have listened. You thought their history was just madness. Chaos. But that madness made them strong. She turned to Veltar with tears in her eyes. They are not primitive. They are pure. The bridge shook. A massive blast rocked the command ship. Another cruiser lost. Then a third. Then a fourth. The fleet was breaking. Back on the Leviathan, Kane said nothing. His face showed no joy, no rage, just focus. Continue fire, he ordered. Do not chase. Do not taunt. This is not about glory. Brooks looked at him. Then what is it about? Kane's voice was cold. Justice. Another human ship, the Endbringer, drove through the Zephyrian line. It didn't fire. It rammed, straight into a warship, tearing through it like it was paper. Both ships exploded, but the message was clear. Humans were not afraid to die, because they had already lost too much. The battle ended in 23 minutes. 9 Zephyrian cruisers destroyed. 4 human ships damaged. None lost. Kane gave the order. Cease fire. Send a message to the Zephyrian Council, Brooks transmitted. A short message, just 1 sentence. You wanted war. You've met the last people in this galaxy who still remember how to fight it. In the days that followed, news spread across every star system. Humans had returned, not as traitors, not as diplomats, but as warriors. Old warriors who had buried too many sons and daughters to ever play at peace. Kixara was one of the few. Zephyrians allowed to return home. She wrote a full report. It was ignored. The Council still wanted to believe it was a fluke, that humanity's power was just old noise. But in the shadows of their meetings, one question kept returning. What else? Has Earth hidden? And in Site Zero, deep inside the solar system, a second vault began to stir. Not full of weapons, but of something even more dangerous. Memories. A cold silence had spread across the galaxy. Every empire, every system, every race was watching Earth now. The Zephyrian defeat had shocked them. No one had expected it. No one believed that humans, so quiet, so average, could destroy an entire war fleet in minutes. But Earth had changed. No. Earth had remembered. And that scared everyone more than any weapon, because memory is forever. In the solar system, hidden far below the mountains of New Siberia, Vault 2 opened for the first time in 200 years. It didn't hold weapons. It held stories, old footage, battle reports, photos, letters from soldiers, warnings from generals long dead, names carved into stone, people who had lived, fought, and died when Earth was on fire. Admiral Kane stood inside that chamber. Around him, hundreds of officers watched in silence. Soldiers from the Leviathan, engineers from Mars, even civilians. No one spoke. Kane turned to the wall. It showed the face of a man with tired eyes and a blood-stained uniform. His name was General Rhodes, Earth Defense Commander. 2154. His recorded message began to play. If you are watching this, then the world forgot again. They always forget. Peace makes us lazy. Comfort makes us blind. But remember, humans are not soft. We are survivors. We are protectors. We are war, when war is the only way left. They will come for us one day, not with kindness, but with lies. They will say we are dangerous, that we are unstable. But it is their fear talking, not our truth. Don't give them silence. Don't give them shame. Give them the answer we always gave. Stand, fight, win. The screen faded. No one clapped. No one cried. But something, deep inside every heart in that room, had changed. Kane turned around and spoke. War is not our future, but it is our past. And in that past, we learned what no other species in this galaxy remembers. He walked between the people. They have technology. They have order. But we have pain. We have memory. We know what it costs to burn. And we know what it takes to stop the fire. His voice rose. They think they are better than us, but they forgot one thing. He pointed to the wall. That we are still here. The galaxy began to shift. Small powers started changing their trade routes. Some canceled talks with Zephyria. Others opened secret talks with Earth. Everyone wanted to know more about these humans, and some wanted to make sure they stayed quiet. One of those was the Serene Dominion, an empire of science and shadow. They sent a message to Earth. Disarm your ancient fleets, surrender your forbidden tech, or face removal. Admiral Kane didn't respond. He just sent a data file. No words. Just history. It showed the Battle of Terra's moon, 2076. When Earth's nations had destroyed a rogue AI in orbit, using nuclear warheads, piloted by humans who knew they wouldn't return. Then it showed the siege of Mars. 2119. When colonists held the line for 9 weeks with no food, no water, no hope, until Earth arrived. Then it showed a simple grave. Unmarked, covered in dirt. The caption read, "For every forgotten soldier who never stopped fighting, the Serene didn't send another threat." On Zapiria, the council met in private. Their empire was cracking. Other species were blaming them. Their fleets were scared to leave home. One elder stood and shouted, "How did they do it? How did Earth survive all that madness? How did they not fall apart like every other violent race?" The room was quiet. Then Kixara, once their top historian, stood up and said softly, "Because they didn't forget. They remembered the pain. They remembered the hunger, the fear, the screams. And they made sure every generation knew." She looked around. "You thought that made them weak. But it made them stronger than all of us." Back on Earth, children were learning different things now. Not just math and science, but history. Real history. They read about the old wars, about sacrifice, about honor, and about the danger of forgetting who you are. One girl raised her hand during class. "Teacher," she asked, "will the galaxy hate us now?" The teacher smiled gently. "Some might," she said, "but the ones who understand will respect us, because we are not monsters. We are the last ones who remember." Admiral Kane stood once more on the bridge of the Leviathan. Earth was safe, for now. But he knew peace would not last forever. He looked out into the stars and whispered, "We are ready this time." Then he turned to his crew and gave the final order of the mission. "Set course. Home." The stars moved slowly outside, but Earth did not. Earth stood, forever.